Hey everybody, Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a quick update on my experience with the Nvidia SHIELD tablet. Of course, that's not what you're looking at here. We've got the SHIELD Portable, as it's now been dubbed, and the Tegra Note 7 on its right. And the reason I'm sharing both of these devices with all of you is that for those of you that haven't followed my coverage of both of these products, these were the first actual Nvidia manufactured devices to hit the market. Their first entry into the consumer electronics business. So the SHIELD Portable, clearly all about giving you a Android console as well as streaming console that would work in tandem with your GTX-driven PC, so you aren't relegated just to gaming on Android, but also the capability of playing your PC games in-house on network or over the cloud through Nvidia's Grid network in at least areas or regions where it was feasible, as long as you also had router hardware to support it. That 5-inch display, 720p, really optimized for gaming performance, the full console experience in terms of a controller, although a little bit on the heavy side, I think very comfortable to use, and really a very well-made product. Great battery life. You also have a micro SD card slot for storage expansion, HDMI out, of course, an audio jack right there, 3.5 millimeter in and out. It's for a headset for gaming. So really a well-rounded device, and as I mentioned, uncompromising battery because there are actually two batteries in there. The Tegra Note 7, on the other hand, a budget device. We're looking at a tablet that was launched in order to really take on the Nexus 7 line of tablets, and that's because a Tegra 4 processor under the hood, a 720p display, even an actual pen integrated, a Stylus experience right here, which really defines a lot of products these days. People expect the pen experience, and Nvidia didn't want to really leave anything off the specification sheet. So a Tegra 4, I would say a decent screen. It was certainly not best in class, but for its price point, compelling. Not up to scale with or par with a lot of the competition. But remember, you were getting a processor here at a price point that simply couldn't be achieved with any other manufacturer. And then eventually, you also got the ability to do much of what you could with the SHIELD, now portable, that I was just showing you before, the console, because this really, in a sense, was almost as powerful. Key difference being only 1 gig of RAM, but when it came to the processor, the same Tegra 4 complemented by internal storage as well as expandable storage. And this tablet, front-facing speakers, front-facing camera, and in terms of design, you can see like a subwoofer output right there, which I'll be bringing up in a moment when we get to the actual update you're all waiting for. I mentioned the stylus already, and the direct stylus technology is passive, but it works, and that's because it leverages all of the processing power that you're getting with the Tegra 4. The same can be said of the SHIELD tablet that I'm about to get to. Volume rocker, your micro SD card slot, and then finally your power button, your audio headphone jack, and HDMI and micro USB for charging. So really everything. But what were the complaints about these devices? Well, a lot of people love the Tegra Note 7 but wished there was a more premium version of it, which the tablet I'm going to bring forward now solves. And you'll notice the design is very similar. And for those of you that made it this far, welcome to what's now focused on this. And the reason I shared both the SHIELD Portable as well as the Tegra Note 7 is really because they are essentially the basis, the foundation for this brand new offering from Nvidia. Essentially, Nvidia learning from their, I won't say mistakes, but first foray into the actual consumer electronics field. And what they learned, I think, was that the SHIELD was a great concept that appealed to a lot of customers, but not enough to justify necessarily a dedicated device like this. And a tablet, on the other hand, which could be essentially adapted into the same sort of experience, which this can, and it's far more powerful than either of the products that are Tegra 4 based, since it does sport the latest and greatest from Nvidia, the Tegra K1, which is in a whole nother class for ARM A15 chips, unlike anything else, and that's because it's optimized to actually be utilized by developers in essentially a far more seamless way than any other processor you'll find on any mobile device in the world. And that is a key critical enhancement to making this a true gaming tablet, because that means that game developers will have a much easier time bringing your favorite titles to this device. And of course, much like the other two devices I just showed you, this has the ability to stream on your own network any games from, again, your GTX-powered computer, as well as take advantage of the Grid Cloud network, which is still in beta, but certainly functional. And I'll do a demo of that in another video. So let's talk about all the improvements. Everyone wished the Shield screen could have been larger, even though they didn't really realize that how much bigger the unit would have to get. When it came to the Tegra Note 7, I said better build quality, higher res screen, and quite frankly, a bump up in specifications. And that's everything that has come together here. So first and foremost, that 8-inch display. We've got a larger display than the Tegra Note 7, clearly far larger than the Shield Portable. Which I think is better in every facet, because whether you're playing a game or watching a movie or using this as an e-reader, you're going to appreciate the extra real estate, or if you're interested in strictly productivity, which is what's great about this tablet at $300, 16 gigs of internal storage. Nvidia recognized that this could be a tablet for gamers, but it should also be a compelling value to anyone else looking for a great tablet. Now, at a little under 14 ounces, it is considerably heavier than the Tegra Note 7, but just about, as I said, in every way superior. Beyond going with that brand new K1 chip, 192 CUDA cores there, much like the Titan, although it's only sipping 2.2 watts as opposed to the 250. So that's where the performance difference is. We still have the direct stylus, although it has been updated. This is traditionally where the SIM card would be if this was an LTE enabled model, which there is a 32 gig variant that incorporates that. This is not that version. That is $100 more. Your micro SD card slot that does support up to 128 gigs of storage, much like the other two devices I was just showing you. Your volume rocker, and then last but not least, your power button. The cameras on this device, also an improvement. No camera on the Shield Portable, which I think some people thought could have been integrated. Here we've got a 5 megapixel camera on the front, whether you're interested in selfies or Twitch, which is something you can actually do here, although performance, from what I've heard, is not perfect. I haven't tested it personally yet. And then, of course, a 5 megapixel camera on the back. So Nvidia making sure that at least most users that were disappointed with the Tegra Note 7's camera and the lack of a camera on the Shield Portable will now be satisfied. 2 gigs of RAM, Bluetooth, GPS, Bluetooth 4.0 SE. I mean, everything you would expect. And then the direct stylus experience just adds to the value. The fact that this is the most advanced mobile processor on the market makes this tablet, in my opinion, the best value out there, whether you're interested in gaming or not. The key difference, as I mentioned before, is really the weight and thickness. If you go with something like the Tab 8.4 Pro or the Tab 8.4S that I've reviewed in the past, you will be getting a thinner, lighter tablet with a superior display. Don't get me wrong, this 8-inch display is an improvement over the previous generation because it also incorporates higher resolution. It is an IPS panel, has solid viewing angles. Color reproduction is fairly good, considering a lot of you have been asking questions as if it can't reproduce yellows. They're a little on the mustardy side, but still pretty solid. I'm showing you the back of the tablet here because I love what they've done with that in particular. The Tegra Note 7 was really, a decent tablet, I think solid for its price, but when it came to the back side of this thing, you could just feel the plastic creaking and basically where parts were glued together. This is solid as a premium tablet should be, and I have to say, it doesn't pick up fingerprints. Everyone else out there making consumer electronics, take note, because somehow, at least one company that really doesn't even do it for a living has made a tablet that won't get gross looking. And I mean, no matter what. So, very good job here with the fit and finish of this tablet and the overall build. That 14 ounces of weight, a little under that, really does lend itself to being a much more solid feeling device in the hand. Now the speakers front firing are incredible. Very good. I'm going to demo those for you in a moment. And it doesn't hurt that we've got those sort of subwoofer outlets on the side, much like the Tegra Note 7 had. And that really not only gives you the surround sound experience, some more bass, but also I've noticed when using the tablet, if you obscure any of the speakers, you're going to do better simply because there are just more ways for audio to exit this device than any other tablet made. So Nvidia really going all out. And by the way, the extra weight that I keep mentioning here, because it is a fairly large 8-inch tablet, especially when you consider the competition at 8.4, considerably smaller, both in the actual footprint as well as thickness. But you have to take into account this is far closer to, I would say, PC performance finally in a mobile platform, simply because of the processor under the hood. And it shows through everything you do with this tablet. It is a monster, a beast. Choose whatever word you'd like to describe it. This thing is going to kill everything else on the market. And eventually the K1 will be in a lot of other devices, but this thing is going to be able to hang out because it does have just about everything a power user would want. So whether we're talking about the storage expansion capability, which you can use to run games, by the way, for those of you curious, or the fact that they actually gave us a legitimate HDMI out. We're not looking at the micro that was on the Tegra Note 7, so a lot easier to deal with a mini than a micro. And then the micro USB charging. Let's talk about battery life for a moment before I start really just demoing the tablet. That is something that is both good and bad. When it comes to gaming, this thing's going to get hot, just like a gaming rig, a gaming laptop, and that's why it's thicker, quite frankly, than many other tablets in its class. Also, battery life isn't going to be great. You're looking at least what I've seen so far, 2 to 3 hours if you're playing heavy games. And by heavy, I mean the ones optimized like Half-Life for this, which I'll be demoing in another video. Half-Life is really one of the great launch titles along with Portal. They're, I think, $10 a piece each, and they really just show off the experience here. Now, the included game is also another great example of how well the K1 does. I'll save it for a gaming demo. But just jumping on the web, if you're going to stick to traditional browsing, then you're going to do a lot better. If you keep screen brightness, which I'll show you right now, we have it at 100%. If I were to take it down, which isn't going to look great here on video, but something like 25%, 30%, then battery life starts to go just insane. It becomes fantastic. But if you're going to keep it cranked up at 100% brightness, I can assure you right now, you're not going to see the suggested or estimated 9 to 10 hours that Nvidia quotes. But personally, I like to keep the brightness cranked up on this display. If I was trying to preserve battery, it'd be another story. But let's do a little bit of web browsing. And the other big thing that I didn't mention here, which is uniform across all Nvidia products, is the software update support that Nvidia provides. They stand behind their product. You're not looking at something that only tries to challenge the Nexus brand in terms of performance and value, but also in terms of software support. Because as many of you know, when you buy a tablet, like many of the tablets I review, Sony, Samsung, LG, whoever it may be, the software updates eventually stop. And if you can't unlock and root your device, or at the very least root it, you're going to find yourself hitting a wall and needing to upgrade, not necessarily because the hardware can't handle what you want to do, but simply because you're no longer in the same world that every other mobile user on your platform is. So web browsing here is not going to be a problem. In fact, everything is going to work incredibly well. I mean, everything that I've done with this tablet so far has just been incredibly fast. Wi-Fi performance, fantastic. The battery life, though, I noticed in standby, it seems to just fall apart. In order to combat that, I turned off the Wi-Fi always being on in settings. Sorry for the hesitation there. And essentially, that has rectified some of the issues. But if you watch battery life, I mean, we're at 44% now. It seems to be hanging in there since I made that change. But that really is, in my opinion, a bug that should, will, and could be addressed by Nvidia in a update that probably is right around the corner. I mean, right out of the box, this had 685 meg update, which addressed a whole host of different issues. Let's go to another website. And everything here is stock otherwise. The only bloat you get, if you want to call it bloat, is NVIDIA's own software, which I wouldn't call bloat. I call it value, because they're giving you something far better than just more media consumption certificates like Samsung. They're actually giving you a whole nother way to use your tablet if you want to, which is as a gaming console with PS3, Xbox 360 capability in its own right. And then if you stream, as good quality as your computer is capable of, essentially, and your network, which is fantastic. Let's go to the actual desktop version of this site. And I think that most users out there that pick this up, that are enthusiastic about gaming, are going to be incredibly satisfied with it. I think that if you're looking for best-in-class tablet, you're also going to be very pleased. And that's because it really does not have any areas in which it suffers. Again, build quality solid, the cameras are solid. I had a little bit of backlight bleed right here in this area, lower left side, but otherwise negligible, nothing, and that wouldn't be, in my opinion, a reason to do an exchange. If it was severe, it'd be another story. It's literally just at the edge of the display, so it's noticeable, but infrequently noticeable. And that, I think, is important. But overall, this device just does exactly what you would want it to, which is perform better than anything else on the market. And you can go ahead and purchase accessories for it, as many of you know. You can buy the controller at $60, the case is $40, and that does create a package that will set you back $400. No discounted bundles. I think Nvidia should have done something like that. I think it would have been intelligent, considering the struggle they had with the Shield Portable and that whole pricing fiasco, dropping it at launch, the delays. But it was their first attempt, and here we have a more mature offering that I think is going to just make everyone happy. And I think a lot of you out there that don't even need tablets are going to be compelled to buy this. I know I myself, really, believe it or not, don't find myself needing a tablet in this size, but because of the power and capability, this definitely differentiates itself from all of its competitors. Now, of course, the Tab S line has the best display out there, but you can't argue that this is closer to being a legitimate computer on a mobile platform, which is a good thing, not necessarily for every consumer. If you don't care about having that much power, then there are much less expensive options like the Nexus 7. But I would never for a second choose the Nexus 7 over this, even gaming aside. Just in terms of what you're getting, future-proofing, the software updates, let's call a wash with Nexus, because it pretty much is, and then best-in-class hardware, at least for the cost you're getting, really you cannot go wrong with this tablet. So again, long charge times and pretty solid battery life, especially if you tweak brightness. But if you're buying into the whole package, you're probably not worried about any of that. And I want to mention that when it comes to streaming, you can stream to a television with this. Let's say you've got the stand, it's propped up in front of your TV. Just like the Shield Portable, you're able to game at 1080p at 60 frames progressive. So really a very powerful device. Nvidia also touts the 4K output capability. Yet to test that or even establish that that is accurate. Maybe it's something down the road. That was also something that was pushed with the Shield Portable with the Tegra 4. But the K1, again, a whole nother generation, even though it's an A15 chip, and that really does make a big difference. Moving away from web browsing, stock software, pretty standard. You can see I just did a wipe on this thing. And right here, everything you'd expect to see out of the box. The only, again, bloat relates to the direct stylus, as well as Nvidia's now newly renamed Shield Hub. The stylus you can actually open or just actually remove the pen, which I will do right now. You've made it this long. And you can see we're prompted with the Dabbler, Write, Evernote, or just Write. So basically it's a matter of what you want to do. Are you here to paint? Are you here to take a note? Do you need to get into an Evernote existing file you're working with and continue working? It's all about what kind of user you are. So if you just want to write a note, it's as simple as touching that, and it does have palm rejection, even though, keep in mind, with that palm rejection, it still is not an active, but rather a passive stylus, and it works. It's just not, in my opinion, really comparable to anything with a real digitizer. But when it comes to the painting experience, it's really actually very cool. And I say that because it incorporates the angle that you're holding the tablet, the physics, with the graphic enhancement of the performance associated with the stylus. So if you're painting with watercolors, which I'll show you in a moment, essentially if this is tilted, the watercolors are the paint will literally dry and run in the direction that you're holding the tablet, as if it were an active canvas. So this works relatively well. The thickness is all determined of the line you draw by the part of the head of the actual pen tip that you use. So if you want a fine line, you only want to use the tip of the stylus. If you want a thicker line, you're going to use more of the entire point. So that's the idea. Let me go ahead and get us out of this. And the Shield Hub, again, gives you access, as I mentioned before, all the games. Right there, Half-Life 2, which I will be demoing, $10. You also have really a pretty wide array of options, not necessarily optimized for this device yet, but expect a lot of development because the K1 is easy to develop for, and that's critical to really making the transition and making this a game changer, something no other tablet has the ability to do. Portal, another really popular game that I know many of you are amazed can be played in a true form on a tablet, on a mobile platform. So yes, battery life still reminds us of our laptops and the desktop replacements, that when you game, you just really can't get the battery life you'd like. I mean, my Razer Blade 14, it's an hour, a little more of game life. Traditional use, 5-6 hours, depending on how you push it. You can crank out more if you want, but that's still a limitation here in even the brand new infancy of gaming on tablets, which is really what Nvidia has been after. They know that tablets, for many of you, have replaced traditional computers. It's obvious that tablets could also have the capability to replace the console, and they've pretty much established that, because if you're a PC gamer, this does replace the console. Many of you don't own a PS4 or an Xbox One. You can take something like this, easily hook it up, and just stream from your PC. Yes, there will be a degree of latency, but very minor. And the whole point is that you now have a console in any room in your house without having to move that PC or have it as an eyesore. Even if you've built a special rig and concealed it, you see where I'm going. So there's so much to like about this tablet that I can't really compare it to a Samsung tablet. They don't bother with infrared remote blasters. That's not what they're after. They're after those of you looking for the best hardware money can buy, and that's literally what Nvidia has delivered here in the Shield tablet. Between the screen improvements, as I mentioned, the camera, the speakers. Let me show you those actual speakers. I'll launch a game. And the stylus, by the way, even though I may not think the writing experience is up to snuff with much of the competition, it's still very good. And it's great for navigation. I have to say, when working with the tablet, I think a lot of you are going to enjoy using the stylus just to actually work with the product itself. Whether we're talking about browsing the web, if I jump back on there, it just really works nicely. And you can see how fast this thing is running. Page has to load still, but it works really, really well. And it's one of those things where tracking is pretty solid, so you get the idea. Go ahead and give you that speaker playback performance. Pop into YouTube. And I will go to the unboxing of this video. And I will crank it up, because this is not even max. And of course, even though I'm not using a traditional microphone here, you're going to be able to hear it quite well, I think. Let me skip that.
Hey everybody, Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a quick unboxing and first look at the Nvidia SHIELD tablet, priced at $299.99 for the 16GB Wi-Fi version. I'll be unboxing.
This is where I break out the
You
stylus.
can also step up to the 32
Use the correct end, hopefully.
Version if you desire.
Show you the lack of buffering on this.
The sensitivity here, you actually have a finite tool to draw with, and then they have graphic acceleration.
And you can see we are streaming in HD.
We have essentially what is really a subwoofer of sorts to basically bring us surround sound like experience from these front-facing speakers right there. And then on the left side, you've got all of your ports.
So I think that gives you a pretty good idea, and the buffering is literally nil. So, and that's because, for those of you wondering why the network, the Wi-Fi performance has to be so good, this is a gaming tablet, and if you're going to pitch a gaming product that's going to work over wireless, not only does it need to be dual band, it needs to be best in class. Otherwise, it's a failure at launch. So, so far, Wi-Fi performance on here over both bands has been fantastic. When I need range, I'm on the 2.4. When I want speed and I'm near the router, I'm on the 5 gigahertz band, and it does exactly as promised. So I really haven't found too many flaws with this tablet so far, and that's not something that I can traditionally say. Outside of the battery issue, I said in standby, it seems to sip a little too much juice. Something's draining power, and I don't think it's an application I've installed. Of course, anyone who owns the tablet, feel free to comment and basically share any knowledge, because there aren't a lot of forums out there right now, sadly, for this device, and I do really think this is pretty much a perfect device for developers. In fact, that's what Nvidia is hoping. Even though they do want this to be mainstream, clearly this is just the beginning of their vision for SHIELD branded products, and that's what's great about it. If you want to pick up the controllers, which again you can expand up to 4 players at once, and they have their own built-in microphone, headset, capacitive buttons, a little mouse feature, those are all very cool things. But really, in my opinion, this is a tablet at heart that just happens to be the best tablet internally ever made, and gaming is one of the areas that it greatly benefits from having this best-in-class processor. And just to close things out, how could I not run a little Dead Trigger 2? Again, this is not the game to really optimize everything, but I'm going to do a full gaming demo for all of the intensive titles. But from a value perspective, this thing kills it. You're not going to find something that's going to give you this display quality, audio quality, processor, a pen, even if it isn't, a Wacom experience or Intrig. The camera quality improved. By the way, the camera is not a stock Nexus experience, not the stock Android experience, but it's still serviceable. And I'm not going to play too much of this. This is just the walkthrough, as you know.
What? Some water. Bring me some water. Okay.
But everything does look very good on here, I can tell you that. Am I tripping on a body? There we go.
I have a bad feeling about this.
So I'm going to leave it there, but you can see quality. You've got a great display, great audio performance, and in the event you don't want that, you can always, of course, use headphones, which if you're traveling is what you're going to have to do. But overall at $300, I can't tell you a tablet that delivers everything that the Shield does. I expected build quality to be a corner cut, and thankfully Nvidia went another route, and they followed suit with what they did here in the Shield Portable, and they reflected it in the price point. Again, I think $300 is very competitive for what you're getting here. I think many traditional consumers are going to compare this to things like the Nexus 7 or the Galaxy Tab 8.4 Pro. The S I'll leave out of it simply because of the next gen display. Of course, the hardware does not match up with this, but in my opinion, this can't be compared to any of those devices because we literally have another generation of tablet computing capability, whether you're a gamer or not. And the fact that you get the direct stylus experience incorporated, I think, is just another added value. So if you never take advantage of a single gaming element of this tablet, you're going to still have one of the best, most powerful tablets for quite some time. And because of software update, really support from Nvidia, this isn't going to die with its hardware, which in the real world, especially Android, devices that are supported by the manufacturer can really have quite a long lifespan, even though the industry would like you to upgrade every quarter if they could get you to. Many of you know that, and Nvidia is not trying to do that. They've made a really solid tablet, put a solid price point on it. Of course, it's going to even go down in price, which is going to make it more compelling, and I think they have a winner here. So really like what I see so far. Great for gaming, great for media consumption, watching movies. You will get good battery life with that and browsing the web. Gaming is the only challenge, and that's, as I said, a challenge for any device. But overall, I can definitely recommend the Shield right now if you can get your hands on it. I know they're still in stock in some places. I definitely recommend demoing it if you can. If not, purchase it from a retailer with a good reputation, good return policy. I will be including my link to Amazon as usual. But this is a winner all around. I've yet to find anything truly wrong with this device. One last note, I did notice, and I don't have accessories yet to comment on, but despite how much I've been complimenting the build, a little bit sharp on the edges. The plastic here is a little bit sharp. Now, it's not really a complaint, just an observation. So that those of you who end up picking this up and saying, well, where's the, I like the build quality, but what's that about? Now you know, I've mentioned it. It just seems to be, it's not that it's unfinished, it's just a little bit sharper. I think everyone would have appreciated something a little bit more soft to the touch, a little less abrasive, if you will. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. And of course, as usual, please feel free to subscribe. Later.